We spoke yesterday about taking life lightly. And that's great when it comes naturally. But it can't be contrived, you can't try to take life lightly. Because that's a bit serious. So the thinking can hear this and say, well, I'll help. I'll help try to take life more lightly. Thank you, thinking. That's really helpful. Nice offer. But you can't do it. In fact, everything that we're talking about here, the thinking can hear it and turn it into some new strategy, some new practice or attitude. And it's bound to keep doing that. No matter how much we're undermining the thinking, it still wants to be helpful. It doesn't know anything else, it's just doing its job. And the way it's trying to be helpful is by offering its services, which are amazing in many ways, but they're also very limited. And we've grown so used to taking on the services of the thinking that actually it almost seems that without using that tool of the thinking, how are we supposed to live or know anything or navigate in this life without relying on thinking? So on the spiritual path we might move from thinking to feeling and follow our feelings. But that's also pretty tricky because our feelings are often interpreted by our thinking. And then it's back to thinking again. We don't know what a feeling means until our thinking comes in and tells us what it means. And of course a feeling can be based on a personal memory, what we like, what we don't like. Feeling loved and accepted in that moment, or feeling rejected. They're not really reliable, basically. Of course, there are I wouldn't necessarily use the word feeling, but let's say a sense of what feels right in the moment that we can learn to trust more and more. But that can only be trusted when it's not being interpreted by thinking. Sometimes we just get a sense like, I don't know why this way, this direction feels right, but I just have to go that way. I just have to meet this person or do this thing. But the thinking can turn it into some new way of navigating, some new strategy. So it's a sneaky one, that too. It's only when we are not trusting our thinking that there is some space to see how actually life presents the next option, the next step. So the bottom line really is that we don't know how to navigate in this life. When we don't rely on our thinking, we just don't know. And usually we have assumed that if we don't know, then that must mean that there's a problem, that we should know. People around us might be asking us, which way are you going? What are you doing? And the truth is, you don't know. And it's uncomfortable. When you feel other people's expectations, you have your own thoughts. Assuming I should know. There's something wrong with me if I don't know. And in the meantime, there's uncomfortable sensations. And usually we'll grasp onto the thinking to help us out in a moment like that. Tell us what we should do. Give me the usual thing that most people do in this kind of situation. Let me follow others that seem to know. Because it's really risky to just stand in that not knowing, to feel the discomfort of that. To admit, I don't know. I don't know what to do, or which way to go, whether what I'm doing is right or wrong. And in that space, if we do stand in that, and just feel whatever uncomfortable sensations are there, there's a kind of burning up in that. If we're willing to just feel it, there's already some space to see a possibility that isn't navigated by thought. And it has its own pace. It doesn't necessarily make sense. It doesn't fit into any box. The idea of how it should be might be shocking to you or to other people. But to take that risk, not just in our daily decisions, but even just right now, just to admit that I don't know who I am, where I am, what the hell is going on here. And it's not a position of weakness, as is often assumed, oh, what will people think of me if I admit that I don't know? They'll think I'm stupid, or just, somehow I have no purpose, no meaning in my life, and I'm supposed to know which direction I'm going in. It's not an attitude of passivity, but it's a surrender to what is really here. Acknowledging the truth that, okay, I don't know. And in that, thought surrenders. Thought says, okay, I give up, I don't know. I'm not the tool to use here. I don't know what replaces it, but I'm, as thought, I say, I don't know. And you'd be surprised, actually, how the next thing just does happen. Maybe not in the time that you expect or hope it would happen. life takes care of itself in whatever way that appears. But it's a risk, it seems, to let go of that thinking tool, which is all you've ever known. It's all that you've ever trusted, really. And to free fall in not knowing, and not finding, not understanding. Not even in the attitude or the spiritual belief that I should just be in the moment or be present. Even that is just another concept. I'm talking about the innocence that has no concept. That open vulnerability that is willing to expose itself. Like, truth is, I just don't know. Willing to take whatever comes as a result of that. It's great courage, actually, to expose that vulnerability. Not necessarily to others, but to yourself. Just to acknowledge it in yourself. And maybe also to others. To live like that. A willingness to feel what is honestly here. To admit that I don't know. And you'd be surprised how a real knowing comes in that. A knowing that comes from not knowing. You don't know where it comes from. You don't know how. But you know that you know. There's no doubt. Thought can be sitting on your shoulders saying, what the hell are you doing? What the hell are you talking about? But at the same time, you just know. So this lightness, I mentioned at the beginning, that it's not a trying to be light, but in that not knowing, there is the knowing that lives itself. And sometimes that lightness is deadly serious. But it comes from that not knowing, however it appears. Sometimes the play plays out very seriously, and sometimes the play plays out very lightly and joyfully. But whatever happens, it comes from that not knowing how to move, not knowing what to do, what to say. That risk of losing control.